Welcome everyone to this Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program 1.0.5. Now, in the previous episode, you'll remember we recovered our heroic crew from orbit of Minmus into this rather nice, secluded and wooded valley. But I think it's about time we recovered them to KSC and found out how well they did in the experience department. Back at KSC, Jean has been reviewing the mission logs, and the 5 crew members that were recovered included Jebediah, who's gained 2 XP, Tamthy, our rescued pilot, who gained 1 XP, Valentina gained 3 XP and has advanced to a level 2 pilot. Bob, unfortunately, gained no net XP. Bit of a wasted journey, really, for Bob. But Bill, on the other hand, gained 7 XP and leapt directly to level 2. This is an excellent result for all our crew, and I think it's about time, now that we've left Minmus behind us, to get on with something a little bit different. No sooner had our crew got back from Minmus and their adventures on that minty world, that Jean dragged us into mission control because Integrated Integrals have a new contract for us. That contract is to achieve an orbit around Duna, transmit and recover scientific data from space around Duna, land something somewhere on Duna, and to transmit or recover scientific data from the surface of that orangey world. So with that in mind, I think we need to head on over to the research department and see if there's any new equipment that might make this a little easier. Now, I've been watching a lot of Mike Aben's videos, and he does a lot of satellite missions, and he does them with really, really tiny satellites and really, really tiny landers. So I thought I would have a crack at that as well. Now, there is a standard rover body, but it's relatively large compared to some of the other bodies that we might use. So I thought I might construct a rover out of this Probodobodyne QBE probe core. It's relatively small, relatively square, so handy for sticking science experiments on. So let's spend 300 of our 438 science and head on over to the Space Place hangar where we can prototype our new rover. Now, one of the most obvious problems that anyone's going to have in getting a lander anywhere is how on earth do you transport it to where it's got to go to? So this is my solution to that little problem. I'm sure there are probably a whole load of other people who've chosen the same solution. Let's just rotate our probe body, and the reason I've done that is so that the connection points are top and bottom, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it inside a service bay. So let's get the large service bay, and let's just rotate that. And so the idea is that you will transport your buggy, your little science probe, your rover, inside the bay, and then your bay can then be inserted anywhere inside the rocket that you're launching to your destination. So this is the larger of the 2 bays. The smaller one is probably not quite big enough to transport even something of this size. You can see it's already sticking out of the base. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the larger bay to enclose our probe, our rover, when we've finished building it. So first things first, any rover worth its weight in salt is going to need some wheels. So let's get some wheels. We're going to use these tiny wheels. Let's put a couple on like so. And what I'm going to do, let's just get symmetry on. There we go. Single symmetry. Let's actually try 2 wheels. What I'm going to do is I'm then going to displace or offset these wheels towards the back of the craft. There we go. So those two are displaced towards the back. Next we're going to get another set and displace them towards the front. So let's get them nicely lined up. There we go. Is that level? It's about level. So let's get the offset tool and bring them forward. There we go. So we've got a nice long wheelbase to run our little rover on. Next we're going to create some attachment surfaces. We'll do that with the ever useful octagonal strut. These cubic octagonal struts will attach to pretty much anything, so we will have a couple of those attached here at the front. Let's change to the other form of symmetry, so we should have two at the front and two at the back. And now we're going to rotate them. So let's rotate them to create a sort of a bumper here at the front. There we go. We're going to have to now offset them to bring them forward, and then offset them to bring them across. There we go. I don't think we can do it. We can't do it. Can't do it with snap on. So let's take snap off and just bring them over to roughly equal in position. There we go. And then bring it forward to match the front as best we can. There we go. So that gives us an attachment point for various items of science that we may want to add to our little rover here. Next, I think we need some way of charging this device, and I'm using the very small panels that come with the D.E.R.P kit that you can get from USI. This is a tiny deployable solar panel which, as you can see, comes with some tiny batteries as well. It's made for little life support modules, but was excellent for this purpose. So again, let's put snap back on and just snap these into position. Where should we put them? Should we put them on the top here, give them maximum amount of clearance? There we go. So maximum clearance. Let's just see how they extend. There we go, facing upwards. They don't rotate, so unlike the larger ones, they don't rotate to follow the sun. So when the sun is very low on the horizon, it isn't going to charge very much, but we can probably sort something out with some of these standard can't do without photovoltaic panels. For example, we could have two of these here on the front and perhaps rotate them a little bit, maybe like so, and then offset them a little bit forward. There we go, just give it a little bit of sun collecting ability when the sun is very low on the horizon. Doesn't give us much space left to attach any science. It doesn't give us very much space to attach any batteries, but we are going to need some batteries because science needs electricity, and electricity is stored in batteries. So we probably need to place at least one of these batteries, these tiny little batteries here on the side panels. We can either stick them on the side, or we can try and squeeze them in underneath. Let's have a look. Can we cram them in underneath without really cheating? There we go. Can we cram them in? There we go. There's not much clearance under there, but it does fit. They're a little bit back, so let's just use the offset tool to bring them forward. There we go. So they're a little more central there now, under the base of our rover. That's pretty good, I think, for a basic device. We are going to have to see how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this named the Duna Experimental Rover Project, or D.E.R.P. So this is the D.E.R.P Mark 1. So let's save that and let's just pop out onto the runway and just see how it works. Well, we're outside on my dirt track of a runway, so let's just extend the panels, get those fully extended, and take the brakes off and just see how well it runs. It rocks a little bit back as you accelerate, turns rather promptly, turns on a dime, as my American friends would say. Seems relatively stable going down this little slope here. Picks up a nice pace. We are bright sunshine. We've got the sun directly above us, so we've got a lot of charge coming into these panels. As you can see, sun exposure 92%, 0.92. So we've got plenty of charge. Let's see what sort of pace we can pick up. 7.9, 8.2. Turns pretty well, pretty stable. Let's see if we can get a nice sharp turn. There we go. Nice sharp S, not really rocking over too much. Well, that's looking pretty successful, I think, for the basis of our rover. So the next thing I think we need to do is think about the sort of science we might want to have on this craft. Well, we're back in the hangar now, and we've got to look at what science we can add to this little rover. Now, we're going to be a bit limited because little is the operative word. So there'll be no giant soil moisture monitor thingies. There will be no planetary survey cameras, obviously. But we can put on all of the standard stock science, so in this case the press mat barometer, so we can squeeze that in down here at the base. So we only need the one of those, so yeah, we've only got the one of those. There should be the we'll need a Communitron 16 just for role play, but we can get a too hot thermometer. We can squeeze one of those in. Let's have a look. If we put it, where should we put it? We've got the attachment points there at the side. We can probably squeeze it in underneath these panels. So let's just see if we can attach it. There we go. Squeeze it in underneath the panel like so. What else we got? We got the seismic accelerometer. We can squeeze one of those in as well. Let's see if we can fit that just inside there. I did think we could have a go at the magnetometer boom as well. Perhaps we'll have this on the side like so. Is that going to go beneath these panels? Yep, that'll fit neatly between the panels. Same on this side, I hope. Yep, that's good. So that should be fine. Let's just reposition this a little bit higher. Same for this, since we have sufficient room for it. What else can we cram on? We've got surface ablation laser light images. Now, the only problem with this particular experiment is it does take rather a lot of power. So that could prove a bit of a problem. Oh, we don't need two of them. So let's take that off and just change it back to a single device. There we go. So we can clip that on the back there. Just use the offset tool to bring it across into the center. Let's take angle snap off. That allows us to use the handles like so. There we go. So that's a bit more central. Blocks a little bit of the panel, but Should be fine. Let's bring it down a little maybe. We'll test it in a little moment, so let's see whether that works okay. And we have the XRD X-ray diffraction surface analyzer. That's probably one of the larger experiments that we could probably get on if we get it the right way up. So let's get the angle snap back on again and clip that in like so. Get offset on, take angle snap off, and just slide that across. There we go. So that gives us those two experiments. I think I'm just going to push that in a little. I think that's fair enough to do. And the same with this one on the back here. Just push it in just a little bit. There we go. So we've got thermometer, barometer, we've got the seismic accelerometer, we've got the laser light imager, and the X-ray surface analyzer. I wonder if there's anything else we can put on. We do have mystery goo containment. This is probably going to take up a little bit too much space here at the back. Oh, maybe we can cram. I wonder if we can cram two of these on, one on each corner. That's an idea. Why don't we just drop that for a second? Move this around to perhaps snugly in there by the thermometer. And perhaps here at the back we can squeeze in a couple of mystery goo containers. So let's see if we can cram in two of these like so. There we go. A little bit of clip in there, but I think we'll get away with it. So cram a couple of those on, and I think the only thing I'm really now concerned about is whether we will have enough charge to run all of these experiments. Let's just see if we can squeeze in. Here we go. Squeeze in a couple of antenna. They will be used for transmitting our science back up to our orbital relay, which we will be building a little bit later on in this episode. So let's just try this out on the runway again. I'll save this again, still as the D.E.R.P Mark 1. I'll save this, send it out to the runway, and just see how our energy reserves stand up to all of these experiments being executed. Okay, well, let's extend these mini D.E.R.P photovoltaic cells. We'll extend both of them. Just to make sure we can keep our batteries charged. Now, this is particularly demanding experiment in terms of power. So let's do a collect laser data experiment and just see how it burns through our 245. Well, that's not bad. It went down to about 180 or so. So that's not too bad. Now, we've done this experiment already on the surface, so no experimental data to recover, so let's just reset that experiment. Now, I don't think I've used the X-ray diffraction surface analyzer, so let's collect some X-ray data. Let's do that now. Down it goes. Again, checking out how it's burning through our electricity. Down to 180, 170. Well, again, that's not so bad. That's pretty good. I think we could run all of those experiments. So what I think I'm going to do now is head back into the spaceplane hangar and just see if this is going to fit inside of our containment unit. Right, well, we had a quick glimpse of how this was going to be deployed to Duna earlier in the episode, so let's just complete that. So the first thing we need to do is get ourselves a little decoupler. There we go. So we're going to attach our little decoupler here on the top of our craft, and that's going to hold it in place inside of our large service bay. So let's just go and get a service bay. There we go. So there's our service bay. Let's just rotate it the right way around. Just plonk that on there. And I think you can see immediately we do have a bit of a problem. The wheels are sticking through the base. We also have another problem in that our craft is pointing in the wrong direction. But let's sort one of these problems out at a time. So let's get the offset tool and just reposition our wheels. So let's go and get it into fine adjustment mode and just bring these wheels up so they are just a smidgen above where the base is. So let's just click on, can I click on those? There we go. So let's just raise these up. Now this brings us to a second problem, and that second problem, I think that's not quite the same height as the first set of wheels. Maybe a little bit too high now. There we go. I think that's about right. And that brings us to our second problem. This is clipping into the mystery goo containment unit. So let's just deploy that. Oh dear. Are we going to allow that? Yes, we are. Of course we are. That'll be fine. It'll all be fine. It's not going to explode or anything. Nothing quite so serious. But the other problem, of course, is that we need to rotate this body. Not that way round. Let's just reset it. So let's get it set up. There we go. So let's just rotate it once more. So we've got it rotated that way around. Which way? There we go. So let's just fix that in place. There we go. Looks like it's still, wheels are still a little bit low. Okay, so let's go and get our offset tool again and just raise the wheels up just a little bit further. Let's raise them up. Let's raise them up to match the level of the girder, the little octagonal struts. Let's do the same here on the back. Can't quite see where the octagonal strut is. There we go. There we go. Is that clear? Why are they so far? I think I've done it. I've seriously overdone it here at the front, haven't I? So let's just drop those back down a little. There we go. I think that's fine. So let's just save this. I'll close up the door and we'll do one last test out on the runway and just see if we can now deploy this D.E.R.P module directly from its container. Right, well, we're back outside, so let's imagine we had somehow made our way to Duna. Open the bay doors. There's our little buggy. So we would then stage in order to release our buggy, and then take the brakes off, and then we try to exit out. Ouch. That didn't work very well, did it? We made it out, but it was still a little bit too deep, and I don't really know why. But it did work. It did work. Where are we? It's just a little bit too tall, isn't it? So I think we are going to have to take a few millimeters off the top. But also notice the service bay has sunk a little bit into the surface of the runway. I wonder if there's anything we can do to sort that out. So let's go back into the space plane hangar and have a go at sorting that out. Right, well, we're going to make some final modifications to this particular vehicle. So let's just open up the bay doors. And as we said, I think we're going to raise up these wheels just a little bit. So let's try doing that. So first things first, select the offset tool, select the wheels, there we go. And we're going to move them up just a little bit more. There we go. So just bring them to the just a little bit above the girder now, a little bit above the octagonal strut. So let's just do that. Make sure we move both of them roughly the same amount. It's a little bit difficult to see, but we are just a little bit above the girder there. Okay, so I think that will do okay for moving the wheels. But we need to get a little bit more clearance off the ground. So let's just close up the bay doors. And I'm going to add the heat shield. Now, we probably would have had a heat shield anyway as part of the deployment. So let's just clip one of those on and head on out to the runway again and do just one last final test for this episode. Okay, so we've deployed the D.E.R.P Mark 1 yet again. There we can go. You see it's sitting a little bit proud of the surface on top of its heat shield. So let's just stage to release our craft, and it does seem to have a lot more clearance now, although it did take a little bit of damage coming off of the little ramp there. But otherwise, we seem to be doing rather well. So let's just put the brakes on. Let's extend our panels again. So we've got our complete vehicle extended. Now, of course, there is one final test we haven't done, which is to extend the magnetometer. That doesn't seem to pull our craft over, so that's very good. So let's just toggle that back in again. So I think we have done rather well in this episode. We have designed and built a fairly small rover. I'm sure we could probably get it down a little bit smaller if we really wanted to. But with that said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.